Well, we were going to try to time a mix cycle from start to finish. But by the time I got this phone to, get the camera on, we missed about 10 or 15 seconds on the front end. We're mixing 2 sand and 3 rock. I know a lot of people do it the other way around, 3 and 2. The reason we're doing this is we take the rock and the sand, mix them up in something clear like a jar, because there's a lot of rock in the sand. It's pebbles like a centimeter and less, but there's nevertheless, you have to screen it out to render with, and sometimes you have to screen it out to use it for mortar. So the pebbles that are in the sand they change the aggregate mix. So we're finding that the 1 centimeter pebbles and the sand fill the spaces between the rocks, and that's what you're trying to do, is make a puzzle where all the pieces fit together. So we've sized our mix by what it takes to make a really consolidated piece of concrete. And our cement ratio is similar to what they use on highways. Our rock and sand bags are not the same 40 kilograms as the cement. So they're a little less, just so we can handle them. And that enriches the amount of cement. You want to put 1 full bag of cement in whatever you're mixing. That's one less thing you don't have to measure. Now, most people use a dump box. We don't. It takes an extra guy, and these guys, when they're done transferring buckets, they get a little bit of a break, and they alternate between there and out front, loading the mixer. So loading the mixer has about a 2.5 or 3 minute break every cycle. It's the crew that come up with the dumping out of the mixer. I built the dump box, but we just found out that to use it, the cement had to be really soupy, and we don't want a lot of extra water. Let's see, can we zoom? Yeah! Just looking through these cassava plants and changing the focus. I'm just not treating it very well. In the last hour or so, the camera's not treating me very well either, so I got into settings and I think I fixed it where it won't be shutting off every few seconds. That's what's messed up timing the first 3 mixes. Camera would quit. I don't expect the battery to last like in a kid's phone where they use it all day long playing games. You ride to Manila and back on the bus, and they just continually have those phones on. We had a Cherry mobile phone, and the maximum battery life is 2 hours if you're not hardly using it. This is a Samsung J7 from Walmart. This one was, I think, $52. And we get a J3, which is a slightly smaller screen, for $48.50. And this one has a higher resolution camera lens. And the display size doesn't make much difference as long as we can see what we're shooting at with the camera. We're going to see if we can wait till the smoke clears here for a second. They're putting their 5 bags in, and he's going to add, the second dose of water. The first dose of water goes in before you put anything in, and then gravel, and that scrubs the mixture clean, so it doesn't build up on the paddles. We don't virtually, when we get done at the end of the day, we throw a bag of rock in there, turn the mixer down close to level, and just run it. And then we dump that rock back out. Or you can leave it and use it in the next pour. Wouldn't make any difference, leave it in there. Ah, I saw a stone go by. Okay, this mix here, this water's pretty good where it is, so I doubt he'll add any more. There might be 6 or 8 ounces too much water in that one. But it's well within what we expect. We don't do slump tests, and we don't do compression tests, because we're mixing 8,000 pound concrete, and we only need about 3,000. And back to the bucket brigade. You don't ever want to be short on the amount of labor on pour day. When we're really, you know, heavy into construction, once we get these guys, we just don't let them leave. They go home at night, but they're expected back in the morning. Or they can live on site, it's up to them. We consider the guys that are here every day, they're a permanent crew. If they get sick, it's just like being on salary. If they have dental problems, you know, we take care of that. Rice for them and their family. We don't buy all the food, just the rice. We're waiting to make sure the mixer stays running. First 3 bags, we had to stop and work on it 3 times. That motor's 6 years old though. So. I don't think we've ever changed a motor in the middle of a mix. The other one had the gas lift on last June or so, last time we were working on the gutters over there. And what happens is the gasoline evaporates and it leaves the ethanol in there. And the solid ethanol is at a concentration where it eats up the die cast and the aluminum. So the first thing that plugs up is the inlet valve. No gas will go into it. And then if you have a main jet screwed in the bottom, then that hole plugs up. But these carburetors haven't got that. All the fuel goes in through the side of the main jet tower, and they haven't got an emulsifier like on a motorcycle carburetor. You know, tube with a bunch of air bleed holes, and that would plug up on the motorcycle. What they're supposed to do is, at the end of the day, have it running, turn the fuel tank off. Just turn the valve coming out of the tank off and walk away. It'll run out of gas. It'll drain the filter, the lines, the float bowl, and it should be fairly dry in there. But there won't be any more ethanol than is in that bottom 1/8 of an inch of the float bowl. And next year it's good to go. But this year we went to change the oil, and there wasn't about a half a quart in it. And I see, now he added a little bit of water that time. And you see that little bit he added. It was looking dry, and he put in there about a quart, or maybe less than a quart. And that's all it takes to turn it into a wet concrete. From dry stuff flopping around in there to concrete was about a half a quart. And we got a big stone in there. Bigger the rock, stronger the concrete. Y'all wouldn't want to try to finish it if that thing was near the surface. We're checking now to see if the shib is falling off again. Just to make things interesting. If I'd known that was wrong, I'd have got the part made before we started today. But We had another motor up there, but that's the one the gas got left on. So I need 3,000 pesos for another carburetor. There's a little metal rod goes through the float that it pivots on, and the ends of it are just in the die cast. And if the rod tries to slide out, it runs into the fuel bowl when it's assembled. But that corrosion gets in there and jams that rod where you can't slide it out. And until you take the float out, you can't get the fuel needle out to clean all the crap underneath of it. So I spent about an hour and a half trying to get it out yesterday. I got it within about a 32nd of an inch, and the ear broke off. So I made a tighter fitting rod, sanded the middle down for the float, and set it in there. It's an emergency use carburetor. I don't intend to ever use it. I intend to buy another one and put it up there. But if we had to have it, we would put gas in and see if it would run. I think it would work. You know, man, I don't know the reason why it wouldn't. We have to go get payday money at the bank and go to a funeral. So against my better judgment, we're gonna leave in the middle of a pour. Generally we don't leave while we're pouring concrete. And this is a 50 bag day here. So if something goes wrong, he'll finish what he's got and try to pull it up as steep as he can where the concrete runs out, or wait till it's just about hard and break off that thin part that's all tailed out and throw it away. We don't want a long tapered cold joint, because at both ends of that cold joint the concrete's really thin and you haven't got anything. The top part breaks off, the bottom cracks, but you don't know it. It's hidden from view. And this is one of our resident concrete finishers. That's Boyette. He's the one that's doing that helical staircase. And I need to get in there sometime and show you what that's looking like. We had him form up this hole and bend in rebar and a bunch of stuff the last couple days. But he's got the first skim coat on pretty much everything except the treads, and they don't get skim coat. And we're gonna let that sit and cure up for maybe 2 weeks. And then we'll lightly sand it and one more skim coat. I might wait on that if I decide I want to paint them. Because if I'm going to sand it for the second skim coat, then there's no hurry. I could wait a year if I had to. Because I'm going to sand it anyway, and then the skim coat would be brand new for the paint. The second coat. Now you notice how long it's been since the bucket stopped going across. He's got this mix here. It looks like the water's right. It also looks like the shib is falling off. All in on break it, trying to knock it back on. Those are surprisingly hard to get, those little shivs. They only fit a concrete mixer. At least around here, that's all they fit. And apparently we got a problem with the gas tank vent on that motor. He walks over every once in a while when he hears it starting to, waver back and forth on RPM. Takes the cap loose, waits a second, puts it back. Sounds to me like we're building the suction up in the tank. There's no vent hose on those tanks. It's just, I guess they assume the cap leaks enough air. And we got a big fuel filter off a car on this one. And Now the other one that we had on there yesterday that we decided not to use, they're starting out with something questionable. We had to go to something questionable. We can do that later. It'll still be broke. But that one didn't have a fuel filter. But last year the tank was more rust than metal, and we put about a pint of coarse aggregate in there and straight muriatic acid, and slosh it and turn it around and whatever. And we left it in there about 2 or 3 minutes, shaking the thing, dumped it out, put some baking soda in it, shook it some more, and then rinsed it. And you can see the shiny bottoms of the pits from the rust. It was absolutely clean. You know, like if you have an antique motorcycle, and then it's forever, like Honda 1000s. They had, I don't know what was with them, but you clean the carburetors and you take it, 50 kilometers down the road and back, half the carburetors are screwed up by the time you get back. They're full of rust. There's no fuel filter. There's just a strainer in the tank. It doesn't stop anything. I got one of those things back in the States, but I'm not messing with it anymore. I think muriatic acid might actually fix it. If I got enough motorcycles, I don't have to worry about that one. I got the kind you don't ever sell. There's no money will buy a Royal Enfield for me. I'm not talking about that thing made in India, that the 350 bullet that the British didn't even buy it, but they started making them in India because they needed a small one-cylinder bike. And then somebody over there bought the manufacturing rights. And the Interceptor is a 736 twin. I've got a 58 model and a 67 or 8, I think it's 68, and then a 70. And the 70 did away with the pretty crankcases with a magneto dash generator dash distributor hole, and went to like a triangle cover with big RE on it. I've always thought they were kind of ugly, but they all have capacitive discharge ignition, so they start right up. But it's a wonderful bike. Yeah, we're gonna fix the Shiv, I think. I'd hope it was lunch.